quarterly earnings, you can see here a dip in November, but not a dip, like a crater. Both companies on their earnings calls blamed Google. This is all ads. I don't even see any organic listings. You rewind the clock 5 years ago, I'm sure I could go pull up a cache of this. It's going to be completely different. The competitors are saying, screw it, I can't be on Google anymore because I just can't compete. End of last week, it was announced that Expedia is replacing their CEO and CFO. As we've spoken about before on the show, Barry Diller basically runs Expedia IAC. He has pretty much half of all the voting shares. It's pretty much his company. Basically, Barry and the CEO and CFO had a pretty big disagreement. If we rewind the clock to 2017, Dara, current CEO of Uber, was the CEO of Expedia. Barry really did not want to lose Dara. He tried probably every trick in the book, and for a very well-to-do billionaire, that means there's a lot of tricks in that book of how you keep Dara incentivized to stay at Expedia. So, lo and behold, there's just too much interest for Dara to go to Uber, run the show, take the company public. By the way, Uber is going to crush it. And Dara's doing a fantastic job, in my opinion, over at Uber. And you can see why Barry didn't want to lose him. So, Mark, the CEO, now former CEO, and Alan, now former CFO, are gone. Their strategy was, hey, Expedia has a bunch of different brands. You probably didn't know this. Many people probably didn't know this. Expedia owns Orbitz, Hotels.com, VRBO, and obviously Expedia.com. And so they wanted to try and unify all of these things together. And that was the plan. Last quarterly earnings, you can see here a dip in November, but not a dip, like a crater in November. And that was when they missed earnings by a lot, by like 20%, or their stock lost over 20%. They had a big miss, both revenue and earnings. Expedia did. So did TripAdvisor. Both companies on their earnings calls blamed Google. And rightly so. And we covered it on the show, and we explained how Google is squeezing suppliers. That's the classic move for tech monopolies, to squeeze the suppliers. Customers always win. It's the suppliers, the producers, the websites like an Expedia, TripAdvisor, Yelp, Booking.com. Those are the ones that get squeezed when the monopoly needs to crank out growth and earnings. But the overall growth of the business has matured. So where do they get growth? They get it by competing more directly with supply. And that's true. But I guess it wasn't the whole truth in Expedia's case. And really now what's come about is that the other part of the story is that that this brand unification plan was poorly executed, according to Barry. And now they've gotten rid of the CEO and the CFO. Barry has committed to doing a large share repurchase. The stock actually jumped 5% on the news that these two executives were being exited from the company. And now Barry is searching for a new CEO. I guess he's kind of running the company in the interim. Now, there's kind of a few interesting points to this. So our friend Ben Thompson doesn't think that there's a problem with Google squeezing its suppliers in this mechanism. He says the problem, though, Google's monopoly is a product of user choice and not structural factors. So Google pays a big fine and nothing changes. After all, if there's no structural problems, what structural remedies are there? It sometimes seemed the only possible solution to start regulating product design. Compel Google to serve 10 blue links forever. Basically, he doesn't see this as a viable way to provide regulation. And this is where I would disagree. So there's this thing called matchmaking. Every platform has matchmaking, right? And this is also the difference between its kind of aggregator and platform thing. So Netflix says it's an aggregator, but Netflix's supply, they control all the supply. So there isn't a matchmaking function in the sense that I, as the platform of, say, Google search or YouTube, am connecting a consumer with a third-party producer, either a third-party website like Expedia or a third-party video on YouTube. That's where the matchmaking function is very critical. That's where you have things like the Google search algorithm or Amazon's product search algorithm. And the prioritization of Google listings over third-party listings. You don't need to dictate the design, but you can very easily measure and say, okay, 5 years ago, Google, you had 0 listings for travel, and today that's not the case. Why don't we take a look? Let's look at NYC Hotel. This is all ads. So Booking.com, you can see here, Kayak is here, Trivago is here, Hotwire is here. They're paying all ads for this. So I don't even see any organic listings above the fold, right? And that is, again, by design, because here's what the organic listings look like. So now this is the second fold, and that's all Google. For you to be displayed as a hotel in these listings, guess who you got to pay? The middleman, Google. This is exactly Expedia's business model, right? Now you say, and here's TripAdvisor, right? Now here are the organics. TripAdvisor, Booking, Trivago, Expedia. That's the organic. It's on the third fold, the third full page scroll. You rewind the clock 5 years ago, I'm sure I could go pull up a cache of this. It's going to be completely different. And so who benefits from this? It's Google. It's Google literally taking up not just like the first few links of travel search, but literally the first 2 pages of travel search. You either got to pay for an ad or you got to pay to be in, Google's little kind of like, travel widget. And if you don't, you're irrelevant. That's not like, oh, well, Google was going to have one of its own links in the first 5 or 10 links, and now it has 2 links. Okay, this is a spectrum difference of competition. This isn't marginal, oh, Google's like taking an extra link for itself. No. They're literally taking extra entire pages to themselves because they need to show Wall Street growth of revenue and EBITDA. And that's where the suppliers get squeezed. And then so you ask yourself, again, what you want to go back to is don't say, oh, well, does this hurt the consumer, me, Alex, or you, our lovely viewers? Does this hurt your experience on Google? I don't know. You could debate that for decades. But when you think about who is Google's customer on the supply side, are Google's third-party websites customers? And I would say, absolutely, they're customers because they are giving Google content and they're giving Google money. Who is paying Google more ads because Google is now deprioritizing their organic listings? That's kind of the definition of a customer, right? Like, I have to pay you, Google, money, and you're making money off of me. Doesn't that kind of mean customer? Oh, yeah, that's right, it does. These are Google's customers, and they absolutely take advantage of them. When you are a tech monopoly, what the role of regulation is to help create a competitive environment. And so what the competition is saying, Booking, is saying, well, we can't compete there. We need to go do our own thing, and we need customers to come directly. So that's the whole point of like creating a competitive environment has gone completely out the window. There's no competitive environment. The competitors are saying, screw it. I can't be on Google anymore because I just can't compete. So I need to go direct to the customer. That's not a solution. And that's the whole point of government intervention is to try and create some semblance of competition. And some semblance of competition, it's very easy to measure. You say, hey, Google, your matchmaking algorithm has gotten kind of completely out of whack because now it's not just 1 or 2 links in the first fold that go to your sites. It's now literally the first 2 pages, and the third page is now organic listings. Is that still competitive? No, it's not competitive. So these are very black and white things. And it's not actually, I don't need to dictate the product design. I don't need to tell the product designer on Google, this is how you need to design the page. This is what the links need to look like. It's very easy to say, let me take a measurement of screen real estate and how much of that goes to Google stuff versus organic stuff. And then when you're on the third page, now there's some organic screen real estate. It's pretty easy to calculate. So respectfully disagreeing on that front. And I do think that Expedia, I think the same thing is true for Booking. Booking's just downplaying this for their investors because they don't want investors to ridicule them as much. But Booking's in Plaid, Expedia's in Plaid, TripAdvisor's in Plaid. The large tech monopoly Google is hurting the smaller platform producers on Google search. And it's true for Booking and Trip and Yelp and Expedia. And this is the whole point of government intervention. But, I don't have much faith in the Department of Justice or the FCC, unfortunately for Expedia and the producers' case in all of this. Hi, this is Alex from Winner Take All. Thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the content. Feel free to leave a comment, ask us questions, and definitely make sure to join us on our next live stream.